So we're back down the boatyard today and we're having a day of just bits and bats really. The sail drive is going back in tomorrow and I'm just going to tackle a couple of odd jobs today. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at this keel. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of surface rust on it. It was like that last year and I just anti-fouled it last year, but this year I'm going to treat it. So, and it's the same on the other side. So I've got a wire brush and I'm going to give it a rub down, and then I am going to treat it with some rust converter, and then it'll be ready to anti-foul. So Gav's got me a new mask and he says I've got to wear it for this job. I think it's a little bit overkill, but I best put it on anyway. Okay, so we've done the wire brush. That's got a lot of the surface rust off, and it's now ready for me to paint the rust converter on. You'll notice it is quite a bumpy surface. That is because of rust that has formed. To get that smooth, we would need to get the grinders out and sand that down. I'm not going to do that this year. It's fine for this year. We'll just put rust converter on it and anti-foul, and maybe next year I might do that and try and get a nice smooth surface, as well as stripping off all the anti-foul and primer and restarting again with it all. But we've got enough on this year with the sail drive, rudder bearings and everything else, so this will be a job for next year. So I've got 2 coats of the rust converter on now, and this is the product that I've used. So it's Rustins, Hammerite do one as well. It's Rustins, rust converter, and this neutralises the rust and also puts a protective barrier on. So you can see now the keel looks a lot better than it did before. All them rust patches have gone. And what's good about this is you don't need a separate primer on it, because this is the primer too. I've got a few, I don't know if you can see on camera, but there's a few tiny little cracks here. They're nothing major, and actually the rust converter's filled most of them up. I've got some 2-part epoxy filler here, which I'm just going to mix up and just smear some in. I don't think I really need to do it, but I've got the stuff out, so I might as well. It'll give me some practice of epoxy. Right, so I've got a cup here, and I've got some little wooden spoons I've just got from the cafe, and it's a 50-50 mix. I'm not going to measure it, I'm just going to try and get it as accurate as I can. And I don't need a lot either, because the cracks are just really small. And then I just need to give it a good mix. Right, I think that looks done. I'm just going to use the back end of this just to press it in. Okay, that's done, and that only took me about 10 minutes. This is what I've done. Just, you can see, just put a little bit of filler just around where I think it needed it. And I'll probably give that a sand when it's cured. And if anyone's wondering, when I say cracks, I don't actually mean that there's cracks in the keel joint. I just mean like where the surface of like the antifouls and the paints and a little bit of surface rust has just flaked off and just left a little bit of a dint. So the keel's not going to fall off or anything. The keel's fine. So I'm now going to start doing a bit of prep on the hull for the anti-foul. Now, as I mentioned before, the hull is not in very good condition of the anti-foul. You can see a lot of it's chipped off. A lot of it's around the waterline, but there are some bits that have actually gone right back to the gel coat, such as here. There's a little bit around the other side too. So really what needs to happen is the hull of this anti-foul needs chipping back off to the actual gel coat, and then repriming and then anti-fouling. But that is quite a big job, and it would probably take me at least a week to do that, because I'm going to have to chip off all the old anti-foul, and I just don't have time to do it this year because we've got bigger fish to fry really. And the big projects this year was the sail drive diaphragm and the rudder bearings, and the longer the boat is out of the water, the more money it's costing us, as we can't live aboard and we can't go home and stay with family because we need to be here, we need to be local, which is why we're in the caravan. So really I can't afford this year to be spending another 2 weeks in the caravan. So we're just going to bodge it up a little bit, and I'm just going to use an electric sander to fare it in where it's chipped away, and then I'm borrowing a little tin of primer. I'm just gonna stick that on these patches, and then I'm just going to anti-foul it, and it'll be absolutely fine for this year. And then next year I think I'll probably have that as the haul out project. So I've just had a quick trip to Screwfix because I realised I wasn't wearing any safety goggles, and I was just picturing the comments saying you should be wearing goggles, and you know what, you'd be right. So just bought some goggles, but now the weather is horrific. So I think I might just wait here for a little bit and see if this clears. In an old picture I've got a Takazar, it's got a boot stripe just above the waterline, and I wondered where it had gone. Well, I think I found it. You see here? That looks like the old boot stripe. Just looks like the waterline's been hired at some point. We've got new decals that's come in to go on the boat, which I'm really looking forward to getting on. So we've got a new boot stripe, and we've also got a few Takazar signs that we're going to stick on. So that's the sanding of the hull done. I think I got a little bit carried away and did a bit more than I was intending to, but we're now ready for me to have a bath because I'm a state. But no, we're ready for the primer out tomorrow, just on the areas that need it, and then I will slap some anti-foul on, and we're going black again like we did last year. The red is showing through from previous years, as she was always red before. So I've got a bit stressy over the last few days, as we've now got a deadline, so we're hauling back in next Tuesday. So even though I kind of knew everything was on track, I was starting to feel the pressure a little bit, and I've been doing Gav's head in over the last couple of days, and I realised it was actually just because I needed a day off. I'd not had a day off since we hauled out, because I've either been working on the boat or I've been going to work to earn some money. So we decided to both have a day off together yesterday, and we had a little trip up to Amble, which is about 20 minutes away from here. So have a look at what we got up to. Amble is a seaside town on the Northumberland coast, and it's quite popular with visiting yachts. It's best not to enter a few hours around low water, as the channel becomes really shallow and dries on the north side where the sandbanks are. Around the harbour, some really quirky little gift shops and plenty of restaurants and pubs. And this is the entrance to Amble Marina at low water. There's a tidal sill here, which you have to be careful of in lower states of tide. Next to the marina is Croquet Yacht Club. It's nice to see the big cats beached on the sand. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help us out. And next time we finish the anti-fouling, reattach the rudder and finally get lifted back in. See you then!